Our topic for today is making relationships work. This series is You Ask, Vedant Answers. Questioning is a very important aspect of our culture and it is encouraged in our culture. Most of the scriptures that you find will be a result of question and answers. There is no compulsion on anybody to believe anything just because it is said. One is welcome to question. One is welcome to agree, disagree, that is each one's choice. In the Gita also you find so many times Arjuna asks various questions. That's the freedom of thought, the freedom of each one can have their own opinion that is there in our culture. So we thought that generally we do talks on various texts, so that we will be doing this year also in in September. But this series is to have some interaction based on some questions. So many of you have sent questions. So we will take up those and see how each day one aspect of our life we can cover. So for today it is relationships. So before we go into the question, some basic aspects. Life is a movement in relationships. Yes or no? Can we avoid relationships? It's not possible to avoid relationships. Even if we go away somewhere and sit quietly, we will have to relate with our own body, mind, intellect. We will have to relate with the environment around us, the whole cosmos around us. So life is a movement in relationship. So very, very important it is to know how to relate well. Because happiness and harmony, peace depends on relationships. A very nice quote I read somewhere is relationships are schools for enlightenment. Generally one feels that if I want enlightenment, I must go away from relationships. But relationships are schools for enlightenment, meaning there is a lot that we have to learn about ourselves, purify our mind, grow to become more loving, more selfless. And all that can happen through relationships. When we grow in our ability to give and forgive, that's one of the main purposes of relationships. So to experience supreme peace and happiness, which all of us seek in and through whatever we do, the most important criteria is absence of ego. If I can drop my ego, then I experience supreme peace and happiness, which is what I experience whenever I am in a state of deep sleep, whenever I am in a state of complete wonder, or I am in a state of absorption in work or any field, or I am in a state of true love. The lesser the ego, more is the happiness. Complete ego goes, supreme happiness is experienced. So relationships can become a means to reduce the ego. If that is the vision that I have, then relationships become schools for enlightenment. But if I don't have that vision, then relationships themselves will become the cause of more and more ego. And somebody defined ego very nicely. Acronym of ego is what? Edging goodness out. So when ego is there, selfishness increases, I may not be able to be good. Hence, relationships can be a means for realization, for reducing the ego. And the very fact that we question sometimes, why should I only reduce the ego? Why not the other person reduce the ego? That also shows that there is a strong ego, right? We will come to those aspects later. So the purpose of a relationship, fundamental purpose is to give love, because the only altar at which ego can go is love. And in a relationship where I can experience love by giving, by forgiving, I experience egolessness, I experience supreme happiness. So with that basic understanding, when I know that I am into any relationship, whether it is a father and mother or spouse or siblings or even a teacher and a student, friends, employer, employee, any of these, any relationship we have, if happiness and harmony has to be experienced through a relationship, it will be possible only when there is selflessness, giving, loving, forgiving, all that. So if this much fundamental understanding is very clear to us, that this is the purpose of a relationship, then whatever are questions now that we have, we shall take them up one by one. One important aspect to understand also is, in a relationship, we are here for blossoming of people. Two people in a relationship, when they relate with each other, they bloom, they blossom, then that's a harmonious relationship. Unfortunately, sometimes what happens is, blossoming of people takes a back seat. Perfection of things takes more predominance. We are not to be concerned with perfection of things. We are concerned with blossoming of people. Perfection will automatically manifest. It is there in them. Like a small child is there. By this age, the child should do this. By this age, the child should do this. That is the idea in our head. And we want the child to be like that. But so the entire focus will be on that. That's why disciplining and so much of emphasis on rules and all that will happen. But on the other hand, if it is on manifesting the potential, what is the possibility? Do I see possibility in a person, or do I see a problem in a person? Relationships bloom when I see possibilities and potentials, not problems. We are not defective pieces that have to be rectified. We are possibilities and potentials which have to be manifested to give out one's best. If that is very clear to us, then we will start using relationships only for that purpose. That in this relationship, by my presence, how much potential I am able to invoke from the other person. Potential to love, to serve, to manifest some skill, to make a difference. And how much of that is getting invoked from me in this relationship. Then that's a mutually benefiting relationship. So relationship is meant for that. From spiritual standpoint, we see, if I grow from attachment to love and from love to devotion, that's my growth in a relationship. I don't have to be devoted in every relationship, but I'm saying in general, if I grow from attachment to love in certain relationships, and in certain relationships I grow from love to devotion, where I completely surrender, then purpose of relationships is fulfilled. So with this short introduction, let us see what are the questions that we have.
Hari Om. Swamiji, we have a very interesting bank of questions that has come up already. Begin with the first one. What is the key to a successful relationship, firstly with yourself and secondly with others? And why does the former always take a back seat to the latter?
Right. So what is the key for successful relationship with oneself? 3 words: clarity, positivity and dexterity. That is the key. How do we explain? So first and foremost is clarity of thinking. That I must be very, very clear to understand my own temperament, my own strengths, my own weaknesses. If I don't know those, my relationship with myself will not be harmonious. Education actually is for me to understand myself, not just learn about the things in the world. So the more I know about myself, more I am prepared to handle various challenges of life in a harmonious way. Because I know these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, this is my temperament, this suits me, this doesn't suit me. So first thing is I must have clarity. Clarity about myself, clarity about the very goal in life I want to seek, and the very goal of life that I want to achieve. When I have clarity about my goals, I don't get distracted. Otherwise, we get stuck in small little things. This person didn't do this, that person didn't do that, this person behaved like this, that person should have not done like this. Completely distracted. Mind goes on thinking only about people, not about ideas, not about goals, not about projects. So clarity about oneself comes through proper introspection, solitude. I must spend some time with myself. Evaluate my own priorities. What is truly important? No matter how people relate to us, if I am very clear about my personality and I am secure from within, then nothing makes me disturbed. Yudhishthir was called Dharmaraj because he was a person who was anchored in dharma, not for anybody's sake, because he loved dharma for its own sake. So no matter what anybody told him, he was very, very strong and secure. So first word is clarity. That I must have clarity about myself. Learn, in Vedanta that word is called Swadharma. Learn what is my temperament, identify what am I made for, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. Get the clarity about goal of life. That why am I here? I am here to experience peace and happiness. What is the means towards that? That clarity must be there. If not goal of life, at least the goal in life, that what is the next goal? Second is purity or positivity. My relationship with myself will be happy and harmonious only when I overcome certain negativities of the mind. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. These 6 negativities disturb the mind, and today we know no? So much of stress, worry, tension, anxiety, all one is going through. Because there is these are the impurities which one is not able to overcome. Where one has given the outside world much more importance. And one escapes from oneself very easily. So that's the third part of the question, I will come to that. Positivity means striving to overcome these negative emotions, invoking more love within one's own heart. So that's why they say that if you do what you love and love what you do, then your relationship with yourself is happy. Because there is joy in that. Then one is not looking for joy in something else outside. Manifesting one's own potential brings so much of joy. So that is positivity in thinking, in one's feeling. And third is dexterity in acting. When I'm acting in the world, aligned with my goal, if there is alignment, in Vedanta we call it as Yukta Purusha. The body, mind and intellect are aligned. If I'm an aligned person, where the conflicts are less, then what happens? There is great conservation of energy, there is a lot of inspiration, one is able to act, achieve, do many things. But if there is pull within the personality, so many times that happens to us. Early morning we want to get up, one part of our body, my personality says, get up, do exercise, you must lose weight, you must become fit, you must become fine. And the other 2 parts of the personality, what do they say? You have worked so hard, you deserve rest, you know. You must have work, sleep, balance. Sleep. So that part pulls us down. There's conflict. The alignment is not there. Then dexterity will not be there, efficiency will not be there, because there's pull and push happening. So the more I integrate my personality, body, mind, intellect with one purpose. That's why beautiful shloka in the Gita, Mayyeva mana adhatsva, Mayi buddhim niveshaya. Where the head and the heart will come together, that is an integrated person. Head, heart and hands, they will all come together, happiness will be there. Then the relationship of that person with that person is very beautiful. There is no low self-esteem, no self-condemnation, no kind of friction in the personality that I am doing something which I should not be doing, I am not doing something which I am supposed to be doing. That is a relationship which is with oneself, which is very proper. How to do that? I have to identify what are my attachments and eliminate those attachments. How will I eliminate those attachments? When I have clarity of my purpose. Why should I get up in the morning and go for exercise? There must be a higher purpose in life for which I am passionate about. Then I will automatically get up. When I want to go to what? Prague, let us say Prague. Destination, some holiday with destination, something. I want to go there. How excited I am. International flight, if I have to catch, even at 3 o'clock I have to get up and go. Is there a pull and push? No, I don't want to go. Let me sleep. Nothing. I'll just get up and go. Why? Because I love. I love to travel, love to see new places, and exciting times are ahead. So body, even if it goes to discomfort, doesn't matter. Come on, push oneself, go. see. Fear of the plane is little. Love for that place is much more. There's no doubt in that. So the point is, if I am integrated, where head, heart and hands want the same thing, then that person is fine. How to do that? As I said, remove all the attachments. And daily practice of integration has to happen. I must empower my personality in a holistic way. So we made a formula. I keep sharing that formula everywhere. From the last 15 years, I've been sharing the same formula, just in different forms. So today the form of that formula is T20. Because in Wankhede, one T20 match is going on. 3 times 20. Exercise 20 minutes a day, meditate 20 minutes a day, study for 20 minutes a day. Keep the body, mind, intellect in alignment, personality will be fine. This is my relationship with myself. For my relationship with others, what do I have to do? First and foremost, I must understand the fundamental purpose of relationship as I spoke in the beginning. That must be very clear to me. I am not here to change somebody else. Another quote I read nicely somewhere was, relationships are mirrors of life. So when I see myself in a mirror, what do? Suppose there is a black spot. Will I take a cloth and rub the mirror? No. What will I do? In a relationship, if there is a conflict, first thing, what must I do? Turn within. Where am I going wrong? Am I doing something which is provoking this attitude, this response? If I'm not, then be secure. Don't worry. So, relationships are mirrors. If I know that very, very well, I will not try to change somebody, insist on somebody. Give space, give freedom. Each one wants now. So the harmony happens when there is do unto others what you want them to do unto you. If I can put myself in their shoes and even understand, accept people as they are. If they hurt, be compassionate, be kind, forgive. So many of those will help to be successful in a relationship with others. So that is about relationship with other people. Very important is to listen. Nobody listens. One couple was celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. So they threw a party and everybody came. They had a great time. Everybody enjoyed. Now everyone has gone and this old woman is sitting and she's flipping channels on the TV. It's a very cool breeze is blowing. It's a beautiful night, full moon night and all that. And this old man, he's very romantic now. So out of love in his heart, he says, "My dear, I love you." So the old lady is flipping channel, she can't hear. He's saying, "My dear, I love you." No response. For third time he says loudly, "My dear, I love you." And this old woman says, yeah, I know. I am also tired of you. Who listens? You know that one of the highest paid jobs in America is what? Psychiatrist. Just listen. Bhagwan gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. But we have reversed the role of both. Listen, and very important, please express your expectation, okay? Sannyasi is telling you, it's your choice whether you want to express or not, but because two people don't express their expectations and they want the other person to understand. Why should I tell? If he really loves me, he should understand. Why are you making that fellow guess one after the other, and this is not working, that is not working, that is not working? The fellow will be at the end of at his wit's end. What do you want? I won't tell. Just tell. Sometimes you play a game, that's okay, but people make what you call judgments based on that. If he truly loves me, he will understand. That should be the tuning between us. No, please express. Don't waste each other's time. then there's harmony. Because you know what the person wants, no? And you can also give, and you can also express what you want, that person also can give. Why waste time unnecessarily? Now the third part. Why does the farmer always take a back seat? The farmer always takes a back seat because we want happiness from outside. We don't understand that happiness comes from inside. Our mind and our senses by default have been made extroverted. And we have always seen when somebody behaves the way we want, then we are happy. If they don't behave the way, then we are sad. So we have seen people also doing that. So our conditioning is happiness comes from world outside. And it depends on people, it depends on upbringing, it depends on situation. So the more I think in that way, more I will run away from myself. That's why I was saying there is a lot of escape. Today when we have some time, what do? Swamiji, that situation doesn't arise only. Because phone is my companion always. Jivan Sathi is phone, nobody else. Anytime I have free, I am on phone, I am on Facebook, I am on Twitter, Snapchat, I don't know what all, WhatsApp, everything. How much we escape from ourselves? Do we spend some time with ourselves? Many times we often say that, first 1 hour of the day, last 1 hour of the day, let us be away from technology. At least we will spend time with ourselves. So our mind escapes and it finds various avenues to escape. Various clubs and parties and socializing and including religion also sometimes becomes an escape. Gurudev used to tell very nice quote, Swami Chindananji. He said, if you cannot enjoy your own company, why inflict it on others? Think about that. Very nice quote. No? If you cannot enjoy your own company, why inflict it on other people? Meaning if sometime I cannot be at peace. Now why cannot be at peace with myself? Because I have not done that first thing. I spend enough time to understand myself. So anytime some conflict comes, some unpleasantness, I want to escape from that, run out. And disturbed people going out will create only more disturbance. So I run out because I cannot face myself. I don't like myself. Because I have not found what I truly love. I have not put the hard work to resolve my rough edges, to remove my attachments, not to justify, not to depend. So then my mind runs. So these are few reasons. So why it takes backseat? Because there is extrovertedness, there is escapism. So then I don't want like myself. Also, I don't have enough training to be with myself. When we were children, we were given, one of the punishments we were given was stand alone in a corner. So one has equated solitude with punishment. Chupchap besi ja. Sit quietly for 10 minutes. Don't do anything. So I've equated solitude with a punishment. I've equated solitude with some kind of a negativity. I equate solitude with being introvert and not being social. In today's life, you should be very social and all that. So solitude, I have not been trained in. I must train myself in that. If I experience joy of solitude, meditation, prayer, introspection, why will I not do it? I have not been taught. So these are a few ways in which we can understand ourselves, spend some time with ourselves. Then the escapism won't happen. Mind goes only where there is happiness. If it finds happiness within, it will happily be with itself.